"Run, Dayo, run!" The voice echoed in his ears, though nobody was there. Dayo froze in the middle of the crowded campus walkway, his chest beating like a drum. He looked around. Students were laughing, carrying books, walking in groups. But to him, everything slowed down, strange and heavy. Later that day, while sitting in the classroom, his pen slipped from his hand. He bent down to pick it up, and what he saw made his heart stop. Red lines like blood started to spread across his notebook. He blinked hard, rubbed his eyes. He looked again, only to find the page clean and white. "What is happening to me?" he whispered. To his friends, he looked normal, but inside, something was different. That was only the beginning. That morning, as the lecturer's voice went on, while teaching, Dayo felt a strange pressure on his chest. His hand froze while writing. His pen started to leak, ink spilling across the page in long red lines. He blinked, thinking it was ordinary ink, but when he looked again, it was not ink, it looked like blood. He pushed the book away. "Guy, what's wrong with you?" his friend Shola asked. Dayo turned the book around, but to his shock, the page was blank, clean white, no stains, no blood. "Nothing," Dayo muttered, closing the notebook. But his palms were shaking, with sweat running down from his forehead. Later that evening, as he walked to the hostel, he heard it again. "Dayo." The voice was deep, steady, but soft, like someone calling from a far distance. He looked around. He saw no one, only students laughing in groups, walking toward the gate. He stood still. The voice came again, close this time, right by his ear. "Your hours are not your own." His chest tightened. He almost ran, but forced himself to walk fast, not wanting his friends to see him worried. At home, Folake was not resting either. She had been to Kutolakat to buy tomatoes, and the whispers were loud. "That boy Dayo, he should have died years ago." They said his mother went to the forest, to that man, Baba Aago. "Eh? Baba Aago, ke? Ah, then the boy's life is borrowed." Folake's ears burned. She wanted to scream at them, but what would she say? The truth was worse than their gossip. She rushed home with her basket, her wrapper tied tightly. Her steps were heavy. When she reached the compound, her friend Sade was waiting at the door. "Folake, sit. I need to ask you something." Folake sighed, already knowing what was coming. "Sade, please, not today." But Sade's eyes were sharp. "People are talking. They said your son is living on borrowed time. They said you went to Baba Aago." Folake froze. She shook her head quickly. "Don't believe them. They are jealous. They don't want to see a widow happy." But Sade didn't blink. "Then swear, Folake. Swear you never went." Folake's lips started shaking. She couldn't. The silence was her answer. Sade stood with shock on her face. "Ah, Folake, so it is true?" Folake could not hold it anymore. She cried and confessed everything. How she met Baba Aago and how she borrowed time. Sade said, "Folake, how could you?" she gasped. "Don't you know Baba Aago is a spirit older than this town? My grandmother used to tell me his story. He gives with the right hand and takes with the left. Nobody escapes his death." Folake grabbed Sade's hand desperately. "What do I do now? Please help me." But Sade only shook her head slowly. "There is no running for him. The only question is, what will he take in return?" Meanwhile, the rumors did not stop in the market. They moved into Dayo's university and into his ears. Dayo first heard it in the university canteen. Two boys were talking as they were eating beans and dodo. Guy, you know say that boy Dayo, dey fine oh. But them say na borrow time him dey leave. Borrow time, care? Wetin you mean, abeg? You never hear? Him mama go do something for forest. Na Baba Aago dey keep am alive. They laughed it off, but the words pierced into Dayo's chest like his heart was burning. Dayo had been standing behind them, holding his plate. He could not even eat again. The words hit him sharp like a knife. He walked away without saying a word. That night, he confronted his closest friend, Kunle. Tell me the truth. What are people saying about me? Kunle looked uneasy. Dayo, forget them, Jari. People like to talk rubbish. Kunle. Dayo's voice was sharp. I said, tell me. Kunle sighed. They said your mother borrowed time for you from one man like that. That is why you are alive. Dayo's hands trembled. For the first time in years, the pain in his bones returned sharp and mercilessly. He left without another word. Folake was in the kitchen pounding yam when he barged in with his red eyes and shaking voice. Mama, he said sharply. She looked up surprised. Dayo, what is it? Don't lie to me. His voice was firm. Did you go to Baba Aago?
If you are enjoying this story, please like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing stories.
The pestle fell from her hands, hitting on the mortar. Who told you that? She whispered. It doesn't matter, Dayo shouted. Tell me the truth. Her hand shook, tears formed in her eyes. My son. Listen. No, Mama, no stories. Did you go to him? Did you beg him for my life? Her lips shivered. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Finally, she broke down, her knees hitting the ground. Yes, I went. Dayo moved back, as if he was slapped. Why? He asked, his voice breaking. You were dying in my arms, Folake cried, her hand stretched towards him. You were 10. The doctor said there was no cure. I couldn't watch you die, Dayo. I went. I begged Baba Aago. I gave anything he wanted, just so you could leave. Dayo started breathing fast. Mama, you sold my life to him? I saved you, Folake cried. Every smile you've smiled since that night, every laugh, every step, it came from that bargain. Would you rather I let you die? Dayo looked away, his head spinning. His whole body was shaking. Mama, so it's true. My life is not mine. Folake crawled to him, holding his leg. No, don't say that, Dayo. Please, forgive me. I did it out of love. You are all I have. Every mother would have done the same. You were my only child. But Dayo's face hardened. And what will he take when he comes back? Me? You? Both of us? Mama, what have you done? You didn't save me, Mama. You tied me to death. He walked out of the house, his footsteps loud in the compound. The neighbors heard the shouting. By evening, the whole street knew the secret. The story was everywhere. Neighbors whispered. Women at the well shook their heads. Did you hear? Folake confessed that she went to Baba Aago. Ah, so it is true. That boy is only counting days. I pity them. When Baba Aago comes, nothing can stop him. Folake stayed inside, ashamed, broken, listening to their whispers through the walls. She tried to pray, but her mouth was dry. Her heart was heavy. Dayo returned to school the next day, but nothing was normal. His friends looked at him differently. They laughed less around him and spoke quietly when he walked by. At night, as he tried to read, a knock came to his door. Who is it? He asked. Silence. He opened the door slowly. No one was there. Only a small calabash sat on the floor, filled with ashes and cowries. His breath froze. He bent down to touch it, but the ashes shifted by themselves, forming a single word in the dust. Soon. He stepped back. Behind him, the lights danced and went off, and in the darkness, a deep voice whispered close to his ear. Dayo! Dayo could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the ticking of a clock. At first, he thought it was in his head. But one night, he got up, checked his phone, his wristwatch, even the old wall clock in their sitting room. All of them were silent. The ticking was coming from nowhere and everywhere at the same time. He covered his ears with his hands, but the sound only grew louder, echoing inside his head. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Then he heard a whisper. Time borrowed, time returned. Dayo got up from his bed with sweat running down his back. He went to his mother's door and banged. "Mama!" he shouted. "Open the door!" Folake opened. Her wrapper was loose from her waist. Her eyes were wide with fear. "Dayo, what is it?" He was breathing heavily. "Mama, he is coming. Baba Aago. He's coming for me." Folake grabbed his face with her hands, her own voice shaky. "No, my son, don't speak that name. Don't call him, please." But it was too late. As if Baba was answering his name, the lantern on the table shook violently, shadows moving slowly across the wall like living things. Both of them froze. "Jesus, Jesus," Folake whispered, touching her chest. The flame went out completely, leaving the room in thick darkness. Then, in that silence, they heard the sound of chains dragging across the floor. None of them moved. None of them were breathing out loud. And then nothing. Silence returned. Folake sat heavily on the chair, her eyes swimming with tears. She wanted to speak, but her lips trembled. For years, she had buried the memory and kept it a secret. But now, it was breaking free. "Dayo," she said slowly, "I know you might be wondering why I went to him out of other things that can be done, but there was no solution. The day you were dying as a child, I begged God, I begged men, I begged doctors, but all failed. Then, someone told me about Baba Aago, the keeper of time. They said he could lend me what I needed, life itself. I went to him, I begged him, and he gave you 10 years more, but I never asked what the payment would be." Her voice cracked. "I was blinded by love for you." Dayo rose, looking around the room like a caged animal. "So all this, my dreams, the whispers, the ticking, is because of your deal? Mama, do you know what you've done? You sold my future." Folake burst into tears, stretching her hands towards him. "I was only trying to save you." But Dayo pulled away, his eyes burning with anger and fear. The next morning, news spread fast. People in Abeokuta were whispering again, but this time not only about Dayo's miraculous survival. They whispered about shadows in Folake's compound, about strange sounds in the night, about how a boy could see things others could not. Children pointed at Dayo in the street. Women covered their mouths when Folake passed. The name Baba Aago was always mentioned in every conversation. At the market, one elderly woman called Mama Tinu shook her head as Folake walked by. "Hey, did I not warn her that nothing in this life is free? Time lender is not a man to joke with. When he comes for repayment, the whole house shakes." Folake tightened her wrapper and kept walking, but her ears burned with those gossips. Her once friendly neighbors now avoided her eyes. The isolation was much, cutting her deeper than a knife. That night, Folake and Dayo sat in silence in the sitting room. Then, the radio switched on by itself. A voice came through, not the usual broadcast, but a whisper. 10 years, 10 years, the debt must be paid. Dayo said, "He's speaking to us." Folake covered her ears, shouting, "Leave us alone!" The radio felt like a burning paper, sparks flying and smoke rising. Folake and Dayo rushed outside into the night air, coughing. And there, in the compound, they saw him. A tall, thin shadow, longer than any human could cast, stood near the mango tree. His hand held an old hourglass filled with black sand. Baba Aago. Folake collapsed to her knees, shivering. Dayo folded his fist in anger. "What do you want from us?" he shouted into the night. The figure did not move. Only the hourglass turned itself, the sand trickling down slowly. And then the shadow faded like smoke, leaving only silence.
Days turned into weeks. Strange signs multiplied. Every clock in Folake's house started to run backward at midnight. When Dayo walked through campus, street lights started to shake and died. Folake woke every morning to find new gray hairs on her head, as if time was draining her faster than normal. One morning, Dayo woke with bruises on his wrists. It was looking like invisible ropes had tied him in his sleep. He shouted, and Folake rushed in. "Mama, he's tying me. I can feel the chains." Folake tried to touch the marks, but her fingers passed through them like smoke. Dayo's face was pale, his eyes wide. "I think he wants me," Dayo whispered. "No!" Folake screamed, shaking her head violently. "He cannot take you. Let him take me instead." As if in response, the mirror in the room cracked loudly. A zigzag line splitted the glass, with words written across it. "One must pay." The community became restless. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said Folake had joined secret cults. Others said she had sold her child's soul for wealth, though she was not rich. Some believed Dayo himself was cursed. At church, the pastor prayed for them, but when the candles went off by themselves, even the pastor looked scared. One bold man confronted Folake at the market. "Return what you took, woman. We don't want Baba Aago bringing calamity to this town." Folake fled home. Tears filled her eyes. Dayo confronted her again that night, his voice breaking. "Mama, I should never have lived. You should have let me go back then. Now, because of me, everyone will suffer." "Don't say that," Folake cried, grabbing him tightly. "I would do it all again for you." But Dayo pushed her away. His voice dropped low, trembling with a mix of fear and anger. "If he wants me, maybe that's the only way to end this." Folake slapped him hard across the face. "Don't you dare! You are my son, and I will fight for you till my last breath." For a moment, silence filled the room, until they both heard it again, the dragging of chains outside the window. They rushed to look, and there it was hanging from the mango tree, with a small clay pot tied with black rope. Dayo climbed and brought it down, with his hands shaking. When they opened it, inside was a single feather and a folded paper. On the paper it was written, "Tomorrow at midnight, one must pay." That night, none of them slept. Folake prayed until her lips cracked, tears soaking her wrapper. Dayo sat in silence, staring at the clock, listening to its steady beat like a death march. When midnight came, the air grew stronger. The floor cracked, though no one walked on them. A cold wind blew through the closed windows. And then, Baba Aago appeared in the center of the room, holding an hourglass, with chains moving behind him. His eyes glowed in the dark, fixed on them both. Folake fell to the ground, sobbing. "Take me, please leave my son." But Dayo stepped forward, his chest beating fast. "No, Mama, if this is my death, let me face it." The shadow moved its head. Slowly, the hourglass turned. Black sand began to fall, and as the last grain dropped, the whisper filled the room. "One must pay. Tomorrow, the choice will be made." Then Baba Aago vanished. Folake held Dayo firmly, both of them shaking, tears flowing freely. They knew now. It was no longer a question of if, but when and who.
Stay tuned for episode 3. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss out on episode 3.